Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9GP, and welcome back to another episode of my Out of the Park Baseball 20 series now. But this is going to be mainly first looks, tutorial type videos. I want to thank everybody first off for the positive feedback from my 3D gameplay video I posted the other day. Hopefully that gave you a good idea of what to expect with some of the new player animations. And if you're new to the game, just what to expect in general when you're playing out a game with Out of the Park Baseball. As I said in that video, they've come a long way, and I know there's still some old time players from this game who play out every game, and I wish I could do that. Don't have the time, and I'm pretty big on. I like seeing, I like simming through a pretty long history and seeing what kind of record I can generate, and how many good Hall of Fame type players I can develop. But it's definitely improved the overall gameplay a lot with the new 3D aspect, and I think they did a great job when they first introduced it. And I think more this year was probably more tweaks than anything, but still look good. This video though, I thought I would do kind of a tutorial. It's something that with every new version, I kind of see questions pop up on the forum about how to import your save games from a previous version, and it's pretty easy, it's pretty straightforward, but I thought I would at least go through one load here and give you an idea of what screens to expect, how long it'll take, that kind of thing. I did the Cincinnati Reds playthrough the other night. It didn't take as long because for one thing, there are a couple pointers I'll give you as we get going on this, but the Phillies one that I'm going to do today might take a little bit longer because I'm up to 20 plus seasons now with this playthrough, and I think I was maybe 12 or so in the Reds playthrough. So not as much, definitely not as much data to upload. But we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll go through it with you as we upload or import my Out of the Park Baseball 19 Philly save. So when you're at your main screen, the first thing you're going to do here at the bottom of the screen, just click on the Import OOTP 19 game. Now right now this one's actually pointing to, it'll automatically point to your save game folders, but this one is actually looking at my Phillies playthrough, I believe, my Reds playthrough that I uploaded or imported the other night. So I'll just need to go make sure that I'm in the actual save game folder, and I'm going to be looking for this Phillies League this time, so I'm going to click that, and then it's going to automatically come up to the world.dat file that's going to be needed to import. And it tells you the size there too, 25.1 megs. Take a look at the Reds. Well, 24.5, so they're probably going to be about the same time frame. But if you have any save files, it'll point to them automatically, basically automatically to that folder, and you're just going to need to pick out the actual league file you want to upload. So we click on the Phillies one, we confirm that, and then I'm going to just name it Phillies 20 for this version. Click the import now. It gives you this pop-up. Do you want to let OOP search for better logos, jerseys, caps, if it finds better ones? I'll say yes to that. And then it's going to go ahead and start doing it. And you'll see the progress here up to the top. One of the things that I would, probably the best pointer I can give you about size of your saves, I like the idea of being able to capture everything in your sim when you're going through, like everything that happens in your league, and not just on your team, but everything. But I really recommend when it comes to saving box scores, saving recap, video replay recaps, news, text, emails, all those kind of things. There's a setting when you're first setting up the league, and I'll look at that when we get to the end here when we import this one, where you can either save those files for all teams, or you can choose none, or you can specify for the human team only, say the team that you're controlling. In this case for me it would be Phillies. I recommend that at maximum, I'll say it that way, the most you really want to save is those files for the human teams. and that's just from my experience. If you're someone who likes to look at the overall history of your league, and you want to go back and say you sim through a historical league for 50 seasons, and you just want to go back to 1957 and look at a few box scores to see how they did, then go ahead. If that's what you want to do, you can save all the information, right? But just be aware that when you go to back up your league, when you go to import your league, or first time you install the game and you want to import that league into your game or load it up into your game, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time because those files generate a high volume really quickly. It's, you'd be surprised how much space they can take up, especially like the box scores and things like that. Game logs. I've found for me, when it comes to, I know I'm going to get every version when it comes out. And so for me, when it just comes to saving my league files, I prefer to keep it at human team only when it comes to saving those logs and box scores and things. You can even see right now what we're going through, for instance, right now is the person pictures. If you've got a big league where you're using, let's say there is a choice when you set up a custom game here at the top, or even, I don't know if you can do it with a quick start game, but I think it's a custom game. You can use like the world. You can include Japanese leagues, Korean leagues, Mexican leagues. Just be aware that when you include those, when it comes to like person pictures, when it comes to importing, the message files, the log files, game log files, those kind of things, it's going to take a long time to pull those in because each of those individual players is going to be its own file, and may not be that big of a file, but when you consider thousands, tens of thousands, possibly, if you're playing a league that includes all world leagues available, it's going to be time consuming. You could be looking at on an average speed machine, you could be looking at hours just to load or import your game. But I've been pretty lucky over the past few years when I finally found that out myself, that anytime that I'm importing or loading for the first time, loading a league that I've saved for the first time, 10-15 minutes is typically about all I have to wait. I meant to time this. I'm not sure what time we're going on now, but it hasn't been too long. I'd say a few minutes. And I noticed the other day, the person pictures, it takes a while, and I expect it to take more in this Phillies playthrough just because I have a few more seasons, probably more players generated. But if you want to skip ahead at this point, you can. I'm just probably going to be rambling at this point, but that's one of the key pointers that I wanted to point out is be careful when you save those, when you're setting up your leagues. Be careful how many log files and box scores and things like that you set it up to keep. Now, we've already moved on from the player pictures. Profile pictures I don't think takes as long. Another thing that if you're playing with the baseball cards, which I do, I know that the baseball cards take a little bit of time to generate when you're going from, say, when each time the All-Star teams are announced and if you've got it set up, it'll generate a card for those All-Star teams. But if you've ever played around with the Hall of Fame, for instance, and go in there and look at that, or look at some of your players, pull up some of their baseball cards, I think it's a great addition to the game. Personally, I was a big baseball card collector when I was a kid, so it's good to see a virtual baseball card of some player that you drafted and became an all-star, for instance. That's always fun. So loading the profile pictures, I don't know if we've gotten to the point where we've done box scores, but we're moving on to logos now. So these things are moving pretty quickly. And like I say, I think for me, I'm lucky with the speed of my system. It may not take as long on mine as if you've got a little bit of an older system maybe. But I don't think another great thing about Out of the Park Baseball is even with all the features they've added over the years, it'll still run on a pretty generous system. I mean, you don't have to have the latest and greatest processor for this game to run really, really well. So now we're going up the league folders, and this would be for my case, it would be just mainly the major leagues, I'm sure, and minors. That could be more time consuming for sure if you're playing with the world, the whole universe. If you're playing a universe league game with Japanese and Korean, Mexican, all those kind of leagues added in, which would be fun. But I like to get in and out pretty quick when I'm loading these games. So now here we go. It's loading replays right now. This is just my replays that I've saved, and you'll see how it goes through fairly quickly. If you're looking at replays for the league, though, you're talking thousands and thousands of files. So this is just my saved replays for roughly 21 years. So you're already up to 1,300 plus files. So it adds up quite a bit. Multiply that by 30, and you'll see what I'm talking about when it comes to the size and how long it can take to do this. So right now we're getting close to 2,000 on mine, and we might even cross over 2,000 with that. Once I get this Phillies league loaded in, I'm probably going to continue. I left it hanging. We're about to start the 2038 season. We're still in the off season for 2038. I kind of left it there. I think the last thing we did was the Rule 5 draft. But I want to take off and keep playing that one a little bit longer, and I don't see any reason to stay in Out of the Park 19 with 20. Knock on wood, I've always had really good luck moving between versions. The glitches are usually rare, and I haven't come across anything, for the most part, that's like a game breaker. It's been a long time since I've seen anything that I would consider a game breaker when I've loaded or imported previous saves from different versions. So we're to the point now where we're actually loading the league. So the importing has actually already started or already completed. So if you're sticking with me through the whole video, what is that? Maybe 10, 15 minutes, if that. And here we are. So this is my home screen, Chris Strychnine. We are January 6th of 2038, coming off a pretty decent season. If you're new to my channel, man, we've struggled. 21 years I've been a GM and manager of this team, so I pretty much control everything except I don't coach or manage the minors. But I do control the player movement in the minors. And 21 seasons, just 5 playoff appearances. We were a game short last year, probably the closest we've come in a long time. But I'm hoping that before I get fired from my manager, owner, who's a real skinflint, he's really challenging me in terms of the budget he's given me. You'd think Philadelphia, we'd have a better payroll, for instance, or a better budget, but we're in the bottom third of the league. But I'm gonna play with this one as soon as I can. That'll be the next video that I post. I'll probably sim ahead to spring training, and then I usually go through the full season in about 3 episodes, spring training, then around All-Star break, and then finishing up in September. And then if I get to the playoffs, that's when I'll play out the series, and I'll use that 3D gameplay and post episodes of me playing out maybe the deciding game of the division series, or if I make the wild card, I'll post that game too. But I've been doing that for a while now, for a couple versions on this Phillies team, but I'm looking forward to getting started back with that. So if you've been following me and you're anxious to see how we do this year, give me a few days and I should have another video posted for that. But as you see, that's all you have to do. Everything comes up pretty much the way you left it, in out of the part 19. I typically don't see, like this is my rosters transaction screens. I typically don't see any ratings, changes or import issues that way, where the players, like a 4-star player becomes like a 2-star player on the import. Usually they're pretty straight up. However they were rated in 2019, that's how they're going to be rated in this new version, those kind of things. Pretty seamless. But one of the things I was going to show you before we get out of here is the settings that I'm talking about are going to be under the file under game for whatever league you're playing, and go to game settings, and it's this first screen that's going to have a lot to do about the size of your league. So it's on the right hand side, the Autosave and Log Settings. Autosave, I've got save once a year, but it saves every time you exit the program as well. It's a good idea to back up your leagues. It's something I'm not honestly all that good at doing, but I might actually go through that procedure and post a video of how to go about that. I think it's probably a good idea to do that, honestly. But you can see for me, I save box scores from human teams. You can set it to go all major leagues, all leagues, all human organizations. But basically it's either none, the team that you're doing, or the leagues that you're using. So I've got the box scores saved from human teams, generate game recaps just for my team or just for my league, and the graphs for my league, because it seems like I don't know if I'll go back and use those, but those are going to have to do with the games that I actually played in some cases, so I'm okay with that. Delay WPA graph generation. I'm not 100% sure what that does. It's set to yes. Oh, they're only going to be delayed. They're only going to be generated when needed. So, if I set it to no, let me see. The way I understand this, if delayed, which I've got it to set to, the graphs will only be generated when needed. So I think that's okay. That way it's not going to generate a graph for every game that you're not a part of. If anybody knows specifically on that, you can let me know though in the comments, but I think that's what it means. And then I'm only saving the game logs from the human team, and that's something, you may not even need it because it's just a recap, a text recap of the game. I'm not saving replays currently. I thought I was, but that's fine. Generating highlights just for my team. Save 3D movies, that's all leagues, no big deal there. And I don't keep the news logs, injury logs, transaction logs. I don't even bother, because you can go up here in your team reports and find, let me see. Actually, you just want to, if you go to the rosters and transactions, you're going to be able to see your transaction logs anyway for the season that you're in. And I don't know. Yeah, you can even go back further than that. Well, okay, so I'm not saving beyond that. I'm okay with that. That's another one of those things where if you do choose to save all those transaction logs, that's going to be a huge file, and it's going to really impact the speed and the time it takes to import and load a game. But I think that's pretty much everything there that I would be concerned about in terms of the size settings of the file. But hopefully this will give you a good idea of what to expect when you're importing. If you weren't able to pre-order and you're going to be getting the game after tomorrow, and you've got a previous league, a previous game you've been working on in another version, I'd say go for it, in terms of whether it's ready to play right out of the gate. I mean, this is still considered the beta version. They released a patch yesterday, and I downloaded it, and they do a great job with that, where it's rare, in my experience, that you'll have a game-breaking issue from a patch that they released. A lot of times you don't even have to resave your game unless the patch includes a new feature that you want to take advantage of, and then you would have to reload your game at that point. But I would recommend to keep a backup. Of course, if you're importing it from a previous version, you're going to always have that version of the file that you're importing from the previous game. That should stay in that game file or folder. But I'd say it's ready to go right now. If you, as soon as you get the game, you want to see how your old league looks into it, go for it. I don't think you're going to have any problem importing it and starting to play. But that's all I'm going to do on this episode. Get ready for some more Phillies gameplay coming up. I'm still debating on what I want to do for the season, what kind of new playthrough I want to do once I get tired of the Phillies, and I'll probably want another playthrough anyway. I may take a current team from 2019, maybe one that's got some challenges to it, and see how far I can develop them. May do something like ratings only, or no scouting system. There's a few things you can do. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to play this game. If you have any suggestions about that, let me know in the comments. I'll take them into account. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next episode.